Shannon E. Jones. But yes, you know how Shannon is. He's always running late. He'll be running and huffing and puffing in a minute. But listen, we have a great program today designed with you, the listening audience, in mind. We've got a program where we're going to be talking to the mayor of the city of East Point, Mayor Dina Holiday Ingram, along with the president of the Atlanta NACP, Mr. Richard Rose. And we'll be talking to former councilwoman and teacher and educator, LaTanya Martin. We'll be talking about the Fulton County school system and what's going on over there. You don't want to miss it. You stay right here with us and don't you go nowhere. We'll be right back. Just hang on in there.
Hello, this is Pastor Reginald Vaughn at Word of Faith Love Center in East Point, Georgia, and I watch Straight Talk with Pastor Fann, the preacher man.
Well, we are back! And now we have our special guest with us. Now. Let me see, that's the mayor of East Point, that's Mayor Dina Holiday Ingram. She's with us, and I want to say, Mayor, hello, Mayor.
Hello,
I'm doing just great, and glad to have you today to join us on Straight Talk. And then I have Mr. Richard Rose. How you doing, Richard?
I'm doing great.
As long as you're doing great, I'm doing greater. Because you're doing great. And then we have with us LaTanya Martin. Hey, Tanya. Oh, excuse me. I got to be more professional. It's LaTanya. Okay. How you doing, LaTanya?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing excellent. I'm glad to have you guys on the program today. You know, there's so much going on with voting and voting rights and all those other things that are taking place. Voter suppression, and I know, Mr. Rose, you're very much involved in that with the Atlanta NACP. But we cannot just be focused on one issue because they're hitting us on every side, on every leaning side. But one of the problems that we're having now that I see is with the Fulton County School Board and the kinds of things that they're doing that are totally improper, not right. And really, they say they care about the kids, but I don't know if they really care about the kids in South Fulton. They may care about them in North Fulton, but South Fulton is another story. So that's why we're here today. We're here to have a discussion about those things that are going on. And I tell you, I'm going to start with you because one of the things that you did was that you, as an educator and as a teacher, you kind of made it known what was going on with the Fulton County school system. So we're going to start with you, Tanya. Just tell us about what's really going on. Turn your mic on. Your mic is off. Can't hear you. Okay.
All right, first and foremost, I want to thank you for having me here on Straight Talk today. I'd like to thank Dina. I'd like to thank Mayor Holiday Ingram and affectionately known as LR, President of the NAACP, Richard Rose. I sounded the alarm by simply watching it happen. The school board representative was invited to the Clinton Council member, which COVID was a big discussion. And towards the end of that discussion, it was when Mayor Holiday Ingram, Councilman Shortfire, began to ask questions about the proposal related to Common Hills Elementary School and the direct threat that was from Fulton County Board of Education back in 2019. So as I watched this meeting take place and the fact that we were out in that meeting, I began to do some investigation on my own. I did the open records request in regards to the letter that was sent to Mayor Council. I also did a open records request on Mayor Council's response to the County School Board in regards to the threat that they gave to the city of East Point. I guess I sounded really long. That's after the investigation, looking into everything, being a little bad at SWATs, these SWATs is voted on by the voters in our community, and just doing a deeper dive into what schools were on that list. There were 4 schools that were usually on that list since over on 2016, and 2 of those schools were in South Fulton. One was in East Point, Connie Hills, and the other one was in College Park, Frank McLaren High School.
So Tanya, that's why you began to do your investigation. Excuse me. Science won't bother me today. This weather's changing, Richard. The weather's changing. But what's going on is that you went on and signed the alarm, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the mayor of East Point up, and she can talk about more of what took place at that council meeting. Yes, Mayor Ingham. Turn your mic on there.
You get myself set out.
That's all right. You're good.
So thank you again for this opportunity. It's an honor to be on the panel. In those ways, we hear that. And also that and bringing it So, what we're next meeting about reopening the school, but didn't bring up information about how many rebuild. There were schools like hills, those schools in North were given open fall, and there's been no on our communication that if we make that they would not rebuild our school, and they would not consent to our TAD, which helps us with economic development. And so when we realized the district was moving forward and in fact had made a decision to consolidate or not rebuild Conley Hills and create a K-8 school at Paul D. West Middle School, for me, I felt like the district was making good on their threat. And so it was alarming. We in the city of East Point, and I shared directly with the school board, that we support our schools, not because they ask us to. As mayor and council, we do it because that's who we are. And we try to bridge the gaps to make sure our children and families have what they need to reach their full potential, become responsible and productive citizens, and be successful. And that is part of the Fulton County Schools mission. So it would sound like we have the common mission, but the way that they go about doing things and making decisions about us without us can no longer be tolerated. The systemic inequities that have existed in the Fulton County School District as it relates to educating our kids in South Fulton, the investments and resources in our community, in our schools, respect of our community, of the parents of our children, who are the most important stakeholders, the parents of the children who attend these schools. Like, we have to demand that now in the face of this, blatant disrespect, blatant just, we're going to make a decision about you without you. And they didn't even survey the parents. And so, they want to play semantics and say there's misinformation and that a decision hasn't been made. On September 23rd, 2020, we had a meeting with the Superintendent Looney, Board Member Dove was there, Board Member Gail Dean, former Board Member Linda Bryant, and other staff, Fulton County staff, as well as some other council members. And on that meeting, I specifically point blank asked the superintendent, has a decision already been made? And he said, yes, the K-8 model decision has been made. He's also shared that with another mayor on another occasion, not even there. And so, to say that the board hasn't voted, all of us have been in this political process long enough to know that when people are not trying to include you, oftentimes the decisions are made before the decision is voted on. And that is what has been reiterated to us on several occasions. And so we are prepared and we are fighting. partnering with the NAACP, 100 Black Men in South Metro, the New Georgia Project, and also the South Fulton Ministerial Alliance to really make sure that we're standing in the gaps and dismantling systemic inequities in Fulton County schools. And while it is the rebuilding of Conley Hills, that's an issue, there's another issue that is looming as well, and I'm sure we'll get into that.
Let me get my mic on now, Richard. Richard, you have been a proponent for education. Your mother was an educator. You grew up around educators. And because we had a meeting the other day with the 100 Black Men, the mayors, several ministers, pastors, and South of the Ministerial Alliance. We were at that meeting with the superintendent. And there was some things that was said that was kind of disturbing. And it kind of hit you the wrong way, brother, didn't it?
It did. We have to not blame students and not blame the victim when there has been a crime, and the crime has been against Black America. We have to face up to what public education K-12 has been. You know, the University of Georgia was founded in 1785. The University of Georgia for college, for graduate school, for professional education. But the first Black high school, first public high school, was not open until 1924, and that was Booker T. Washington in the city of Atlanta. And so there has not been a commitment to educating Black children, Black boys and girls, and we need to understand that that has been the case. And we have to change it. We have to be intentional about changing it. And I don't see that when you talk about low performing schools. You know, low performing, there's nothing wrong with the school, the building. What we have is a preponderance of low performing students, and we need to address those students one by one and not just sum them up as like a data statement. And so that what disturbed me most of all about Dr. Looney, and that he's assumed the same posture that has been talked about so long. You know, a few years ago, one of the first battles that I fought coming in as president of the NAACP was the Opportunity School District that was proposed by Governor Deal, and basically was on a constitutional amendment when we were able statewide to turn that back. With the same kind of collaboration that works in our community, the same kind of collaboration we have today with community leaders, political leaders, and then NAACP. We have to stop the system from mistreating Black boys and girls and Black men and women, and we have to get that out. And so that's what we've done. You know, as I mentioned to Dr. Looney, the K-8 model that he championed. While he championed that, is it we on the cutting edge for Black kids? We experimentation for Black kids? I noticed that the private schools in Fulton County, some of the best private schools in the country, don't have a K-8 model. In fact, they have 4 different schools. They have the K through maybe second, primary grade, what they call a lower school, the middle school, and then the high schools. So they do not put them together. Now, if they want to put together a K-8 model that actually has 2 different schools, and really that's 3 different schools, because 6 and 8 should be middle school. If they want to have 3 different schools on a campus where you got different principals, different facilities, different lockers, different lunchrooms, that's worth discussing. But to just say we're going to use a K-8 model, where a model that's been in disfavor throughout the South and throughout the country, and he's just based on one study from done by Harvard in Philadelphia. So we have to understand, we have to demand that we not be mistreated and participate where we should in making our voices heard. And I think we've done, and I appreciate collaborate, Dr. Martin Rogers and Mayor Ingram, and you, Bishop Fann, to work on behalf of these students, because where they're from K forward can help to set their life trajectory, and we need to be concerned about it. We need to be intentional about making sure that they have absolutely first-class quality education, not only for students in the north of Fulton County, but also students in South County.
Well, thank you so much, Richard. Now I'm going to come back to all three of you guys now. And as I come back to the three of you guys, I want to just share with you some of my experience with the Fulton County School Board. And my experience with the Fulton County School, and you can mute yourself and then come back on when you want to come back on. Because I think it's feedback of mine. I'd cut mine off when you come on, then I think that's what the problem is, okay? But what happens here is that my experience, we've had so many school superintendents with the Fulton County school system, and South County has always been the dumping ground. South County has always been lacking in high performance in this, and then we create the charter schools, and we have more charter schools in East Point, and more charter schools being developed in South County, and raping good kids, and that hurts the low percentage of kids who are enrolled in public school because they put them in charter school. But with all that being said, we need, and I've been advocating for this, is that, and I talked to Representative Bruce, and who is the chair for the South Fulton delegation. I talked to him in terms of us having some other representative other than Gail Dean, who represents Sandy Springs and not South Fulton, because she only has a little bit of South Fulton. We need a third representative, or we need to be able to elect who is the president of the school board. We need some representation on that board, because we're outvoted 5-2 or 5 or 6-1. Because many times people get on the board, they just go along with the people on the north side because they know they don't have a vote to do nothing. They're not voting about what our real needs are down here in South County. So we have to be, as you said, Richard, we have to be strategic in what we're doing, and we have to do it from a comprehensive approach. And it certainly starts with the policy makers who have hired, I don't know how many superintendents that have been in and out of here that have not done anything, in my opinion, to help us in South County in terms of the school. We had one that was really trying at one point, but he soon left because he didn't have the support of the board to do what's right about the children, because it is about the children. It's not about anything. We pay more tax dollars, brothers and sisters, and that's for those of you who are viewing. We pay more tax dollars to the Fulton County School Board, if you live in Fulton County, toward education, and they won't even allow us in the process. They don't want our voice to be heard. They don't want to hear about no PTA or no LSACs in South Fulton. They don't hear about that because they don't want our voice to be heard. But we'll be talking more about that. But let me get back to these guys. These are the ones that's really on the ground, that's really been working with it. You know, I started and I stopped, but I'm in it now, and I'm in it to win, because we got to change what's going on in the Fulton County school system. And there's some stuff that's going on that we're going to be talking about later on that's going on that ain't right. That ain't right. Well, can I tell them about it now? I think I will. I went to the school board meeting, Dr. Rogers. I'm calling you Dr. Rogers. Dr. Rogers, I went to the school board meeting, and I'm there, and they said, oh, you can't speak. You speak in this meeting, you can't speak in the next meeting. What? No, we need to know what you're going to talk about before you come and talk about it. So I signed up for the meeting, and I wanted to talk about Connie Hill School. So they called me, the superintendent for the area called me and said, are you aware that we put that on pause? Well, I didn't know what pause meant anyway. That's like the rugby. They take me off the rugby, put back on the rugby, it's all back playing, right? So I'm like, I want to be on the record. I want to be on the record that I spoke because I wanted you to do right about Connie Hill School. I said, okay. So when I come to the meeting, I'm at the meeting, and I find out, no, you can't speak to the next meeting. You're going to speak at this meeting, but you can't speak at the next meeting. We're going to have 5 people to speak, and then we may have 2 people come from the floor to speak. Now, these are my tax dollars. You will tell me when I can speak at stuff with my own money. This is my money you're spending, and you don't want to hear what I got to say. Well, there's some other stuff going on, and you hear more about that, because we're going to do something on the 18th. that's going to expose Fulton County School Board. You pay attention, you hang on there with us. And we're going to need you to be with us too on the 18th. And we want to pack out that school board meeting on the 18th. We want to have more parents there. Because they said the parents don't want to be involved. The parents don't want to have nothing to do with it. The parents don't know. Because you ain't letting the parents know. You ain't letting them know. That's why they don't know. But anyway, I'm going to go back to Tanya. Time to go back to you because you're in the school system. And Mayor Ingram, you work for the school system. So let's talk a little bit about what's really going on in that Fulton County school system and why they don't want parents involved. And they don't listen to the people who are doing the day-to-day job. Tanya. Dr. Rogers.
All right. Well, what I want to say is, since I have been watching the Fulton County School Board, the leadership and the selection of the superintendent comes from the board. For the last several years, every 1.7 years, a new superintendent has been hired.
You froze up.
That something deeper is going on because every 1.7 years, there is a new superintendent. I also would like to talk about the longevity of the school board members. Many of the school board members have been there 20 years or more.
You ain't talking about Katie Reed, right?
I mean, I'm just saying.
You know, I call her name, I call her name, Doc. I call her name Katie Reed. Let's talk about it. Katie Reed. We got to let people know what's going on.
Many of the board members have been there since the 80s. Some of them have not kept or maintained with the times. And I think that is also an issue. When you are in any leadership position, you should educate yourself about that position. You should make sure that you have the latest information in regards to that position. I know I like to use this reference. When I first started teaching, I used the overhead projector. I mean, now you go into school buildings, overhead projectors are in the closet, and we have moved on to Promethean boards. So I think that what I'm saying is, if you're going to be in a position of leadership, it's best to educate yourself on trends, on data, on what works. You have to continue to educate yourself. And some of our board members, I feel, have not educated themselves on the position. They have not just put forth great effort to be a representation of all students in Fulton County school system. And most importantly, when you are in a position of leadership, it's important that you advocate. So you mentioned earlier that you may not have the votes to do something, but I need to see that you're advocating on what's in the best interest of our community and not going along to get along. I would like to see that you're at least trying to bridge the gap, or at least listening to your constituents. So you may not have those votes, but you should definitely advocate from your seat on behalf of what's best for students, their parents, and the community at large.
All right, thank you so very much. Now we're going to go ahead to Mayor Ingram, and who worked for the school system for us well there. And let's hear what she got to say. Unmute yourself.
Yes, I worked for 6 years for the district. And so a lot of what I say, or my advocacy and my relentless commitment and feeling like the sense of urgency of now is couched in that context, because I know while I was at this district for 6 years and I had 5 different superintendents, one was an interim, but in 6 years there was four different superintendents within 6 years. And so what I saw, I've seen superintendents who were committed to equity and who were committed to ensuring that all kids had what they need from a individualized perspective and looking at each different community and what they need in each school. And I also saw that kind of get to a point where they realized that wasn't the full commitment of that board. And, you know, good people move on because good people have other opportunities. And I think maybe some people within the school system feel like people don't have other opportunities and that people just have to stay. And I think in that district, you'll see a lot of people turning over. And it is because you mentioned it, Bishop, earlier. Before anyone opens their mouth, the 7 board members are split 4.5 to the north for North Fulton and 2.5 for South Fulton. And the person that has the 0.5 north and 0.5 south is Representative Gail Dean, who really makes it a 5-2, 5 north, 2 south. We rarely ever see her. And so not even just seeing her, that makes it sound like very basic. I don't hear the advocacy from the board members who represent the schools in East Point, committing to advocating what is equitable and what our schools needed. I found it interesting in a recent meeting that we had that the 100 Black men invited all of us to with Superintendent, the meeting that they were having with Superintendent Looney, that he said he is committed to putting in the resources and the teachers and everything that's needed to make a K-8 model work. And I said, we need that same energy, keep up that same energy and that same commitment right now to the kids in that school that's in a K-5 environment, because that is what has been missing. And so what we see is a level of intentionality around the willingness to commit the resources and things necessary to make these schools be a safe learning environment for kids and make sure they have all they need. When Catherine Maddox was alive, I walked through Conley Halls with her and she was telling me about the repairs and things that were needed and what she was trying to do. And one thing about Catherine Maddox, regardless of what the final vote was, she always spoke up for the kids and families in her community. She would make her statements, she would advocate, and she would vote her conscience and vote for what was right. And whether it prevailed or not, you always knew where she stood for our community. We are lacking any level of advocacy for our community and what we need. In fact, what is happening with this K-8 model is that when they say press pause, you know, actions speak louder than words. So they said they're pressing pause. And I'm like, so what does that look like? What does pause mean? What's going to happen during the pause? How long is the pause? What I have seen happen is that pause means a full court press on a K-8 model. The superintendent continues to talk about he's going to share informational resources on the K-8 and articles about studies and stuff like that, as if we can't read and comprehend. Those studies have not studied our community. And what I see is a lack of effort in engaging our community and wanting to talk about studies and things that words on a piece of paper about other communities that are not our community, versus very simply surveying the parents of the kids in these schools to find out what it is they need and what it is that they want. Because the parents are the most important stakeholders as it relates to supporting our children. And there's been an absence of any real, and I use real all caps, real effort, authentic effort to engage our parents in the community. And when you talk about the public comments, it's interesting. On January 23rd that you spoke at, there was a board, an amendment of the board policy regarding public comments, and they made sure to put in the board policy, while the district will not air or record public comment, recording is allowed by meeting attendees. Open meetings and open records say you need to have a record of what happened at the meeting as it relates to all of it. So you're not going to record it and you're not going to air it. I mean, there's so many systemic inequity issues that are within this district. What I say is this is the long game, right? We got to show up. We got to be engaged all the time, every month. There are more than enough issues for us to raise and us to stand a gap and fight on behalf of our children and families.
Thank you, Mayor, for your your advocacy for the citizens of South Fulton, not just East Point, but South Fulton. Thank you so very much. I got to go back to my friend Richard Rose. I love Richard. I love Richard's tenacity. I love Richard's patience. And I love the way Richard just sit back and methodically think about how we can best get it done. So Richard, with that being said, the ball's in your court. How are we going to proceed with this, Richard? How are we going to raise the consciousness and awareness of the community that this is what we need to be about?
So thank you. What we have to do is continue to reach out to parents. Not only but all of the parents in South area to talk about the trend that continues to punish our children. And so we want to make sure that they come to the meetings. And you know what I was just thinking, we got a new tool that lets us email, gives a link to let us email politicians. And we're going to, at Atlanta NACP, we're going to set up a link for people to email these board members and express their concern, express their disappointment at the continued policies that affect Black and brown children in South Florida. I think that if you don't have the advocacy at the board, which is a problem, and I tell people all the time, if the people who represent you do not represent you, they should not represent you, and we should move them out. But in the meantime, we got to get connected together. We need to articulate what our disagreements are, what our wants are, what our preferences are, and advocate on behalf of policies that will prepare our children for adulthood, for high school, for college, and for great careers and great citizenship. So, and I think we have to, we will make that move. We'll get that done next week to start with petitions to each of those board members. In particular, it'll also let your board member know that you live in their district when you reach out to them. So yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll start a different campaign. We have other campaigns going on because the Georgia legislature is trying to turn back the clock on voting for us. It's always something to do. The NACP is devoted to our community. We will continue that activism, and we ask anybody listening, join us. Because we need the resources, we need the togetherness. We have seen what collaboration will do for our community. We saw that November 3rd and again on January 5th. And we need to have that same fervor, not just every 2 years or every 4 years. We need to have that 365 days a year in all of these areas where it affects our children and their future. I think you muted, Greg.
I done muted myself, Richard. Now mute yourself. I'm unmuted. This stuff is just getting to be, I tell you. but I want to thank you guys so seriously for your work, the diligently. I think one of the things that we really need to talk about before we leave here is the issue of the 18th, the actual board meeting on the 18th, and why it's important for parents to show up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with you, Mayor, on this one, so you can talk about why it's important for people to show up, and then I'll let Richard talk, and then I'll end up with you, Dr. Rogers. Is that all right? That is all right. Dr. Rogers said that's all right. All right, so we're going to start with Mayor Ingram first. So Mayor, I'm going to let you, I'm going to mute myself and unmute you. How about that?
Yeah, it is important to show up because there is power in your business. While there's power in your vote, so the vote is your power. There's power in being counted with the census, and then the other power that people have that we leave on the table too much is voting. How we end up with representatives who don't advocate for us. I love what my president just said people who don't represent us shouldn't represent us. Something I gotta get it because I gotta that's retweetable and requotable. But to that point, there is power in your presence. And so, you know, if people can relegate this issue or these issues to, oh, it's just the mayor, right? Make it seem like it's just one person, or, oh, it's just the council, you know, make it seem like it's the number of people that you can count. Then people feel like they don't really necessarily have to listen. They can just keep playing politics. But when we get people showing up, you know, the people standing in the gap and bridging the gaps for our parents in our community who might not be able to attend, they may be working, they may have childcare. There's a number of issues, but we all have to show up to collectively as a team and do our part. And so we need people to show up at the meeting on March 18th, but not every month, right? It's a long game. So what generally will happen is they'll wait us out. They'll feel like it'll die down. Our advocacy will die down. We have to keep up this same level of energy and this same level of momentum and grassroots engagement, and increasing the number of people who show up to say, we are here, we see you, and yes, you ultimately have the decision, but decisions have consequences and elections have consequences, and we are watching, we are paying attention to what is happening, and we are going to be here for the long game. This is not over. While it is about the rebuilding Conley Hills and the whole public comment issue and trying to silence us by saying you can't speak every meeting and you can only speak on a certain same topic. You can't speak on the same topic, and you got to tell us before you come what you're going to speak about. And I mean, then we're going to call you to try to let you know we already answered your question of, I guess, maybe for coming to speak. I appreciate you, Bishop, for being relentless and committed and still showing, because that's what it takes. People want to be able to control our voice, our behavior, and they want to control, most importantly, what happens to us and how they allocate resources and how they, you know, make these decisions. And what we got to do is say, you can no longer make decisions about us without us. We are here. We're standing in the gap. We're bridging the gap, and we're going to continue to multiply. We don't die, we multiply. Each time we come, we bring in more with us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you. And you know what, Madam Mayor, I want to say this before I bring on Richard. That whole thing is what we need to do, period, on every issue. See, what we do is, we once we score a touchdown, we think we done won the game. But the game ain't over. The late Chico Renfro used to say this. This is what Chico Renfro used to say. And I'm saying this to all of us. This is what Chico used to say at a radio announcer. This is what he used to say, Richard. He said, and I know, Richard, you know, you from Memphis, you know, and Tanya from Connecticut somewhere. But anyway. But anyway, Chico Renfro used to say, this is my home. I'm from Georgia. I'm a Georgia person. And guess who I got in here with me? Y'all see him. I told you, it's the late Shannon E. Young. But but Chico Renfro used to say it like this. He said, a game of life is not over until the final whistle is blown. So you got to stay in the game, and you got to be vigilant in the game until the game ends. And it won't end until God calls us home. So we're in a fight. We must continue to stay in that fight. I watched the game last night between Miami and the Pelicans, and the Pelicans were they looked like they wanted to come back, looked like they wanted to win, And all of a sudden, at the end, they lost gas. We cannot lose gas. We got to stay in every fight because they're coming at us on every front. And Shannon, I'm going to just say something a little bit. I got Richard's going to talk, and then we'll end up with school board, not school board member, educator, and Dr. Rogers. All right, so we're going to go right now to Dr. Richard Rose. All right, Doc, you on? I'm cutting mute myself, and Shannon too.
Hey, Reverend Carl.
How you doing?
So, I would just say, we have to refuse to do it. We have to continue to stand up to the white supremacy issues, interests that have plagued us forever in America, and continue to understand that white supremacy affects us 24/7, 365 days a year, And that's when we should resist it. 24/7, 365 days a year in every way that we can. The continue of suppressing the educational opportunities for our children is still mistreatment, no matter who does it. If the system is bad, even if a black person is in charge of the system, if it's a bad system, it continues to be bad unless you have champions who will change those systems. And champions that don't come along every day. You know, Maynard Jackson was a champion who changed systems in Atlanta so that plenty of black contractors can now do business at the airport when before there was zero. So we have to have that kind of intentionality to absolutely make a change for the better, to recognize what's wrong with them and try to make it right. But if we don't admit to the injustices, we don't have a hope of changing them.
Well, thank you so much, Richard, the president of the Atlanta chapter of the NAACP. And you're not a member, you need to join. I got a card, you need to get you a card. All right. All right, Dr. Rogers.
All right, thank you so much. And first, let me set the record straight because I know my mom is going to see this. I am from the Sunshine State, Delray Beach, Florida, not Connecticut. No offense to anyone who may be from Connecticut, but I am from Delray Beach, Florida.
All right, you from Florida. You from Florida. I stand to be correct. You're not a Georgia Beach, you're Florida, aren't you?
But I've been here long enough. I've been here long enough. But originally from Delray Beach, Florida. All right, the first thing I wanted to say is that we have to stand in the gap. That's just it. I feel through my work, being an educator, being involved in my community, through my advocacy work, I'm standing in the gap. My grandmother used to always say, living in this world, we should be able to help somebody and our living won't be in vain. So I am standing in the gap for those children, for those parents that, work late hours and can't attend these meetings. We should all band together to stand in the gap. And secondly, I want to say that we need to hold the people that represent us accountable. We have to hold board members accountable because there are systematic inequity issues throughout Fulton County school systems. They were presented in equity policy and have yet to make a decision on it. But they continue to make decisions for Black and brown children. And I feel that we should hold them accountable for those decisions. So we are standing in the gap and we are going to hold them accountable. And lastly, I also wanted to say, I was going to the school board meetings and they changed the policy because I was the one going to the meetings, signing in, talking about various issues that affect our community. Do I like the policy? No, but I do believe that is something else that we can hold them accountable for. We have 7 board members that represent over 90,000 students in a district, and they only allow 7 people to come to a board meeting and speak. And then, as Mayor Holiday Ingram pointed out, you have to call the office, you have to give your name, your address, and what it is you want to talk about. Everyone pays $5,500 in taxes. If I feel I want to go to a school board meeting and talk about whatever is on my heart, I should be able to walk into the meeting and there should be a slot for me. They have operated with that non-system of transparency is what I call it. When you sign up or when you put your name on a ballot to be an elected official, you have to take the good with the bad. And I found it disheartening that they would carry on as business as usual, making decisions for 90,000 students, and the public comments weren't televised, or only 7 people could come in and sign up. And actually only 5 people can sign up and 2 people sign up at the meeting. They saved 2 slots for walk-up. So there are definitely some issues that we need to address as a community, and we need to continue standing in the gap. And March 18th, we need to pack it out. And thank you so much, Bishop Fann, for having me today.
Well, you're more than welcome. And now we're going to bring on the late Shannon E. Jones. Shannon, the Reverend Shannon E. Jones.
If he wasn't a bishop, I would say the devil is a liar.
Everybody see you later, so they know you later. Ain't lying. You lying,
you know, every first of the month, I have to do the traffic report for Straight Talk. It's rough out there. You want to stay off 20 and 85. All right, but I want to ditto everything that was said. It's movement time. On the 18th, we need to be there. Where there is suppression, there is oppression. And that's what's going on right now. And guess what? If you could get away with governing and not having to hear from those whom you govern, that might be appealing to a whole lot of people if we allow them to do that. And what has happened is inch by inch by inch, they have been able to put certain protocols in place to try to ease out the voices of consciousness that wake up the masses and that pushes back against the suppression and the oppression that's happening. I've been hearing about Fulton County schools. I've been watching it. I've been hearing. We started the Gathering Church in a Fulton County school, and I had to deal with the county, and I noticed some things there. So we're on the cusp of a moment where it's time for us on our way to heaven to raise a little bit of hell along the way. And I feel you can't get to heaven until you raise a little hell. And so we need to be there on the 18th. We need to stand up and speak out. And we might need some civil disobedience. We might need to go beyond the 7 that can speak. We might need to disrupt what they have in place. We might not need to go along to get along, but we might need to absolutely shut them down. And so the first thing we need to do is pack it out. But I don't know about you, Brother Rose, but I don't have a problem with shutting them down.
Not at all. I agree.
He didn't have a problem with shutting them down, period. He didn't shut them down before you got him.
All right. All right. All right.
The only thing he's saying is amen.
All right. And you want to stay off Roosevelt Highway as well.
Boy, I tell you, I love doing this program with Shannon because he's a hoot. He is a hoot. He's a preacher. He's a weatherman, and he's a traffic man.
Paul said I had to be all things to all people.
All things to all people. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today right here on Straight Talk, and we look to see you on the 18th.
6 o'clock.
At 6 o'clock. Can someone give us the address?
I think we need to be there before 6.
Yeah, we need to be there before 6.
Because you tell black folks 6,
Yeah,
they get there at 7:30.
5:45.
No, you can't tell black people 5:45 or 6 o'clock. Oh, okay. I've been organizing black folks for a while. Black folk be there at 4:30.
Hold on a minute, she trying to get the address. Let her get the address, okay? Oh, he's fired up and ready to go.
Ready to go.
Go, Ty, go get the address.
It's 4025 Flat Shoals Road, Union City, Georgia. Right behind Banneker High School and behind the Fulton County Library there. It's the south.
There to go up the hill.
That thought nobody was there. I was about to leave thinking that everything was canceled. And no, you had to go back all the way to the back. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And if you are interested in speaking,
yeah, go on, Tony. You about
please call the superintendent's office and get on the list to speak. And that number is 402546895.
Get that number again, Tony.
470-254 6895.
All right. Well, thank you guys again for being here. And listen, I think we're going to do a little something prior to it, though. I think we're going to do a little something prior to it to let people know what's going on. Mr. Rose got something up his sleeve. Y'all better watch that Richard Rose. He'll raise heaven right here on earth. God bless you all. Thank you so much for being with us today right here on Straight Talk with Shannon and myself. Great fan, the preacher man. You guys have a good one now. Well, Shannon.
Stay away from the Spaghetti Junction. Yeah.
Shannon, listen here. You and your traffic reporting.
Yeah.
We on the south side. Why in the world do you get all the way up to Spaghetti Junction?
I don't know if somebody's going up that way. I'm just trying to tell him. You think I was late? I'm out there trying to look at the weather and the traffic for them.
Well, thank you so very much.
Next month I'm gonna do the weather report.
Why don't you just do it next week? Make it real. Just do it next week. Well, we thank you so much for joining us right here on Straight Talk with yours truly, great fan, the preacher man, and Shannon Jones. And of course, we asking you if you'd like to be a guest, and you want to be a guest right here on Straight Talk. All you have to do is email us at fan922. That's fan922 at Straight Talk. No, that's fan922 at Comcast.net, right, Shannon?
That's right.
Okay,
that's
let's get it right, Shannon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Fan922 at Comcast.net.
Thank you so very much. And what do we do, Shannon? What do? We left ourselves. We came back. We went black and then we came back.
Lord.
And the phone is study raining. Lord of mercy. Listen, we got to go. We'll catch you next week right here on Straight Talk with yours truly, great friend and preacher man. And Shannon Jones, again, if you'd like to be a guest, you can email me at fan922 at Comcast.net, or you can call 404-308-0792, 404-308-0792. Until next week, God bless you, God bless your family, and God bless America. And don't forget to tune in this week right here on my page, the Great Fan page, and on the Voter Empowerment Collaborative page, and on Facebook. And then you can check us out on YouTube at Voter Empowerment Collaborative. And we honored the late Reverend Albert E. Love. And we would each and every year, Sunday is Bloody Sunday, every year, we would go to Selma, to the pyramid to Selma. But this year we're going to do it virtual. So if you haven't got the invite, send it out to someone if you have got it. And if you haven't got it, call me at 443-0795. It's going to be at 3 p.m. We have our special guest will be Kwame Abernathy. Rather, Kwame is going to be at the Kwanzaa, just call me. I think what's the Kwanzaa? But Kwame Abernathy, the son of the late Reverend Ralph Abernathy, my former pastor, and we'll have Elizabeth Amelani, the daughter of the Reverend Jose Williams. We'll have Councilmember Michael Julian Bond, who would be here to talk about his father, Julian Bond, who they would not see. And his seat after he was duly elected. He had to fight to get his seat. Listen, and then we'll have our leader's daughter, the Reverend James E. Ernst's daughter, Jemima Ernst. Well, God bless you. And Shannon, you got anything you want to say before we go?
Getting Helen an award?
Yeah, and Helen Butler, I'm sorry, thank you so much for reminding. And Helen Butler, Miss Bo, will get her award, the first annual Albert E. Love Award. She'll get it for her work in voter protection and fighting for voter rights and registering people to vote. We got to fight this voter suppression. People died, bled, gave up their lives, so we would have the right to vote right there on that bridge itself.
That's right.
Until next week again, and God bless you and heaven smile upon you, and always, as Reverend Love said, keep strong and God bless.